The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Albert stepped forward to make his declaration. Representatives from 47 species watched with barely concealed curiosity. As the human diplomat approached the ceremonial platform, this was at the moment that would seal humanity's fate in the interstellar community. The Treaty of Harmonious Integration was clear: to prove their commitment to galactic unity, Earth's representative must choose a life partner from among the assembled aliens. It was an ancient tradition, one that had welcomed dozens of species into the fold. Albert had studied the precedents carefully. Every previous representative had chosen strategically, selecting the most beautiful, the most influential, or the most politically advantageous mate. Albert's eyes swept across the gathered delegates. There was Zyla of the Crystalline Consortium, her prismatic form catching the chamber's lights in dazzling displays. Beside her stood Ambassador Theron, whose forearms and symmetrical features were considered the epitome of pangalactic beauty standards. Even the insectoid delegates had arranged themselves in their finest ceremonial poses. And then there was Elsa. She stood in the back corner, partially hidden behind a support column. Her Kryvaxian physiology was considered, by universal consensus, unfortunate. Where other species had evolved sleek forms suited to their environments, the Kryvaxians bore the scars of a brutal evolutionary history. Elsa's skin was a mottled gray-green, covered in rough scales that served no modern purpose. Her face was asymmetrical, a genetic quirk unique to her bloodline, with one eye slightly higher than the other, giving her a perpetually concerned expression. 3 vestigial horns protruded awkwardly from her skull, remnants of some ancient defense mechanism, but it wasn't her appearance that made others avoid her. It was her reputation. Elsa was famously possessive, notoriously jealous, and had a temper that had become legend across 3 sectors. Her previous diplomatic partner had requested a transfer after just 6 months, citing her unreasonable emotional volatility. The Kryvaxian government had sent her to this ceremony more as punishment than opportunity. Everyone knew no one would choose her. Albert had read her file. Between the official complaints and formal reprimands, he'd found something else: a record of unwavering loyalty, fierce protection of those she cared about, and a mind sharp enough to navigate the Council's most complex political labyrinths. She'd single-handedly negotiated the Tarsus Mining Rights Treaty. Though her superiors had taken credit, she'd exposed corruption in the outer ring trading posts, though the scandal had somehow tarnished her reputation instead of elevating it. "I have made my choice," Albert announced, his voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. Every delegate leaned forward. Bets had been placed across the galaxy. The odds favored Zyla at 3-1, with Theron close behind. Elsa hadn't even made it onto the betting boards. "I choose Elsa of the Kryvaxian delegation." The silence that followed was absolute. Then came the whispers, rising like a tide. The crystalline delegates chimed in discord. The Theron ambassador's perfect face contorted in confusion. Even the stoic Kryvaxians looked stunned. Elsa herself stood frozen, her asymmetrical eyes wide with disbelief. Her rough scales seemed to pale several shades. The Council's High Arbiter, an ancient being whose species had founded the Alliance millennia ago, spoke with evident confusion. "Human Albert, you understand the significance of this choice? This partnership is binding for a minimum of 10 solar cycles. You may reconsider." "I understand completely," Albert replied, walking toward Elsa, "and I don't need to reconsider." As he approached, Elsa found her voice rough and sharp, like gravel scraping against metal. "This is a joke. A human joke. Yes, you mock me." "No joke," Albert said, stopping before her. "I've studied everyone here. I know what I'm doing." Her eyes narrowed dangerously. "You know what they say about me? That I am jealous, possessive, difficult? I know what they say. I also know what they don't say: that you're brilliant, that you're honest to a fault, and that when you care about something, you give everything you have." Albert smiled. Humanity didn't come this far by playing it safe or choosing what looked good on paper. "I am not beautiful," Elsa said, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "You're the most beautiful person in this room." Albert replied, and meant it, "because you're real." The formal binding ceremony proceeded in a daze of diplomatic confusion. The Council couldn't refuse a legitimately made choice, no matter how unprecedented. As the neural link was established, the technology, that would allow them to sense each other's emotional states and general location. Albert felt Elsa's shock gradually transforming into something else. Suspicion, certainly, but underneath, something warmer. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy watched with morbid fascination, waiting for the inevitable disaster. Surely the human would crack under Elsa's demanding nature. Surely her jealousy would drive him away. Instead, something unexpected happened. Albert quickly learned that Elsa's jealousy stemmed from a lifetime of betrayal and abandonment. When given genuine loyalty, she returned it tenfold. Her possessiveness, so criticized by others, meant she would move mountains to protect what she valued. Her sharp tongue, which had earned her so many reprimands, cut through political nonsense with surgical precision. Together, they became formidable. When the Crystalline Consortium tried to undermine Earth's mining rights, Elsa's knowledge of treaty law shut them down in minutes. When Albert faced an assassination attempt from anti-human extremists, Elsa's supposedly ugly physiology, dense scales, powerful muscles hidden beneath that rough exterior made her a devastating bodyguard. Her vestigial horns, it turned out, were extremely sensitive to environmental changes, warning them of danger before scanners could detect it. The neural link revealed truths that Elsa had hidden even from herself. Beneath the jealousy was fear of abandonment. Beneath the possessiveness was a desperate need to matter to someone. And beneath the anger was a brilliant, caring soul that had been rejected so many times she'd armored herself in hostility. Albert's acceptance cracked that armor. His genuine affection, not despite her reputation, but with full knowledge of it, gave her something she'd never had: unconditional regard. 6 months into their partnership, the Galactic Council convened to review Earth's integration status. The sight of Albert and Elsa entering the chamber together, she standing protectively close, he clearly comfortable with her proximity, was jarring to those who'd expected failure. The High Arbiter studied them with ancient, knowing eyes. "Human Albert, you have surprised us all. You chose what no one else would choose." Albert glanced at Elsa, whose asymmetrical eyes met his with fierce devotion. "I chose what everyone else was too blind to see," he corrected. "I chose strength over beauty, substance over appearance, loyalty over convenience." "That's not surprising, that's just human nature." Elsa's scales rippled, the Kryvaxian equivalent of a smile. Her hand found his, rough scales against smooth skin. The Council approved Earth's full integration that day. But more importantly, across the galaxy, the definitions of value and worth quietly began to shift. The human who chose the ugliest alien woman had revealed a truth the galaxy had forgotten: that worth isn't determined by appearance or reputation, but by the content of one's character and the strength of one's loyalty. And in the corner of the chamber, hidden from most eyes, Elsa, once considered the least desirable being in the galaxy, stood tall beside the human who'd seen her true value. Her jealousy remained, but now it protected something real. Her possessiveness endured, but now it had a worthy focus. Nobody had expected Albert to choose her. But then again, nobody had ever really understood humanity's greatest strength: the ability to see value where others see only flaws, and to find beauty in the most unexpected places.